Okay, sorry, we were having some technical difficulties. Once again, this is Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights and the World Alliance of Karaim. And we are here now at Katef Hinnom, the Hinnom Ridge above the valley of the Gei B'nai Hinnom, the valley of the sons of Hinnom. And we're going to be looking at some burial caves from the first temple period. Let me just drink. That's nice. All right, let's let these people go out. Okay, so we read the sign before. Maybe we'll read it again since it's the beginning of a new video. And we're looking at tombs from the first temple period, and then we're going to look in particular at what's called cave number 24, and we're going to talk about one of the most important biblical archaeological finds in the land of Israel, at least in recent times. So we're looking at 7 burial caves. I'm just going to read this. 7 burial caves from the late first temple period were found at the site. The caves, which were hewn into the cliff above which the Scottish Church of St. Andrew was built, that's up there, were partially destroyed by later quarrying. All the caves were hewn in hard limestone and were meticulously designed. The architecture of tombs from this period is known from many sites in Judea, and we're going to speak about this as we look at the tombs, especially in Jerusalem. The plan was based either on the Royal Egyptian cubit, which is 52.5 centimeters long, or the short Egyptian cubit, 45 centimeters long. There seem to be different cubits that are spoken about even in the Tanakh. These caves were intended for family burials over a number of generations. All but 2 of the caves consisted of a single chamber, measuring approximately 3 by 3 meters. High burial benches on which the deceased were laid were cut into the walls. Raised headrests were carved into some of the benches. Spaces were hewn under some of the benches to serve as repositories for bones that had been collected in order to make room for the newly deceased. Archaeological excavations revealed that the caves continued in use even after the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians in 586 BCE. So let's take a look at these caves and let's talk about what's going on here, and let's talk about in ancient times, at least maybe not all the time, but part of the time, this is how bodies were buried. So this is one, but I'd like to find some better examples we can really see. So this is a good example here. Let's see if I can go down to it. I don't want to go over that fence. I've gotten in trouble for hopping fences before, so let's not do it. Let's go down here and let's see if we can find a good example. I think this is a good example here. So the way that bodies were buried, quote unquote, in ancient times is that there was an upper shelf, which was usually covered by a cave. So here, it's probably this. We'll see one afterwards, which is very clear, or maybe it's this. And then this area might have been covered by a cave wall, which over time, I think we read there, or as we'll talk about, this area was quarried so that the cave covering this bench may have been knocked down. But the dead body was laid down on this shelf here, and this one doesn't have a headrest, but we'll see some that have headrests. And again, it was not out in the open like this. It was a covering which was quarried in later times. And the body was set to rest there, to sit there, to lie there for, they don't know exactly how long, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, basically until all the flesh withered away, and then all that was left was the bones. And each of these sites, each of these caves was a family burial cave over many generations, as we read about on the sign back there. And so this is the way families over many generations would bury their dead. We'll talk about that issue in a second as well. But at any rate, once the flesh had decayed off of the bones, and only the bones were left in about, let's say, a year or two, nobody knows again exactly how long, then the bones were taken and they were placed underneath in a chamber called the Ma'asifah, which literally means like a collection chamber or a gathering chamber. And this would be an example of a Ma'asifah, so kind of an underground chamber. And this is where the bones, generation after generation of a particular family, would be placed. So the bones just kept on accumulating here in this Ma'asifah, in this collection chamber. When another person from the family died, again, their body would be laid here on the upper part, which was covered with a stone roof. It was a cave, actually. Again, it's been chipped away. And then the waiting period would be, again, a year or two, or whatever the time was, until the flesh decayed, rotted off the bones, and the bones would be placed in the Ma'asifah, in the collection chamber underneath. And that's the way, I won't say all the time, but that's the way, at least here, at least in Jerusalem, at this period, it seems that some, or maybe many, or maybe most, or maybe all of the dead were buried. And we have a phrase in the Tanakh that when people died, actually, it's usually used in the Torah, in the Tanakh, and the rest of the Tanakh, a slightly different phrase is used. But when people died, it says that they are gathered to their people. Okay, v'ne'asaf l'amav. And this burial chamber, this burial system, gives new meaning to that phrase, or to that idea, because if you think about it, and perhaps that's why they call the underground chamber the Ma'asifah, it's where the bones were gathered, right? Ne'asaf l'amav, gathered to his people. When someone dies, for instance, when Abraham or Isaac or Jacob die, I don't have the Tanakh in front of me, but it usually uses the phrase v'ne'asaf l'amav, he was gathered to his people. And this underground chamber is called the Ma'asifah. I don't know when it was given that name, probably by the archaeologists much later, but it expresses the idea that the bones are being gathered to the place where the bones of the ancestors are stored. And so that may give a meaning to this phrase, gathered to his people. In the rest of the Tanakh, the phrase is usually used of Yeshanta im avotav, and he slept with his fathers, which expresses the same idea. It just expresses it in a slightly different way. So here are more of these burial chambers. Okay, so that is down there, is an entrance to, again, that collection place for the bones, the Ma'asifah. And let's look at an example of a really well-preserved one. And this here is cave number 24. And we're going to talk about cave number 24 for a very different reason. In fact, we'll play an audio. But here we see very clearly the burial bench where the body is left for a year or two to rot. And then we see underneath the chamber, the gathering chamber, the collection chamber. There's no bones in there now. Everything's been excavated. But down below is where the bones were gathered generation after generation. Okay, when a person dies, he's gathered to his people. The bones are gathered in the collection place. It's really horrible that there's garbage here, but that's unfortunately the way Israel is. People are not very careful about throwing things on the floor. Okay, so let's now talk about the importance of this cave here. This is called cave number 24, the one we just saw. Okay. And by the way, this did have a covering, which was chipped away over time, which was hewn away over time, because this place was used as a quarry. So this was ultimately covered. And the Ma'asifah, the gathering place underneath, the place for the gathering of the bones, was concealed, as we'll listen to. Okay? So actually, why don't I just play this audio here? There's a lovely audio in English, and I think that will kind of sum everything up. So as we look at cave number 24, we'll just listen.
Shalom, and welcome to the Katef Hinnom site here at the Begin Center. The site, whose name means shoulder of Hinnom, is located on the main road that passed between Bethlehem and Jerusalem. In ancient times, it was an important road junction on the border of the lands of Judea and Benjamin. This spot where you are presently located is close to the drainage divide line, where the route of the mountain road passed. Thanks to the location of this hill, all who came to Jerusalem and the city of David had to pass here. The location of this site, high on a hill with its amazing view, is not only beautiful, it is also of strategic importance. Whoever controls this hill controls the southern entrance to Jerusalem, as well as a large area of western Jerusalem. The name of the hill originates from the nearby Ben Hinnom Valley that lies below the walls of the old city. During archaeological excavations conducted here during the 1970s by Dr. Gabi Markai, many remains from various eras, starting from the First Temple up to the Roman Byzantine periods, were found. We will focus on one of the major findings, which was the crowning glory of the excavations conducted here, the burial caves from the First Temple period. The rock-hewn burial chambers in front of you are dated to approximately the 6th century BCE and are related to the days of the Judean kings in the First Temple period. From the first cave in front of you, numbered 24, we can clearly understand that the burial process in those times was completely different than that of our time. The dead body was laid inside the cave on a stone bench, with a concave at one end, serving as a support for the head. For an unspecified period of time, the body was left on the bench. After the body had decomposed, or the need occurred for the bench for another body, the bones left of the person, along with their personal belongings, were moved to a hollow ditch under the bench, called a ma'asefah, or repository. There, the bones were placed alongside former family members who previously passed away. This way of burial may be the source of the biblical expression, gathered to their ancestors. Over the years, most of the ceilings of the burial caves collapsed, exposing the burial benches. Although most of the repositories were not physically harmed, they were found empty due to the work of grave robbers. An exception is this repository in the cave in front of you, which was left complete and its contents intact, thanks to a partial collapse of the ceiling that buried all of its treasures. The repository was found with the bones of 95 dead people and thousands of items like pottery, coins, and beads. The most impressive among these findings were 2 tiny silver scrolls that were inscribed with ancient Hebrew writing. Opening the scrolls without causing damage to them required advanced and complicated technology. The writing was deciphered, depicting a short version of 3 sentences from the Book of Numbers that are known as the priestly blessing. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord shine his face upon you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. This finding is the most ancient example known of a biblical text from the First Temple period. Besides these burial caves, additional findings from other periods were discovered. These include graves of soldiers from the 10th Roman Legion that held a siege over Jerusalem at the end of the Second Temple period, and the remains of a Byzantine church. Looking up from where you are standing, you can see the St. Andrew's Scottish Church, built in 1929 in memory of the Scottish soldiers in the British Army who fell in World War I. This archaeological site was renovated in 2018 by the Menachem Begin Heritage Center with the cooperation of the Israel Antiquities Authority and the Jewish National Fund in France. You are invited to continue your tour of the site, read the information about the other findings exposed here, and visit the Begin Center. May we also suggest a visit to the nearby Bible Hill, a unique urban
Okay,
nature
let's
reserve.
go over here and let's learn about the silver scrolls that were found here. Okay, so what is important about this archaeological find, this biblical archaeological find? This is the oldest inscription ever found with text from the Torah, from the Tanakh. So let's read about it a little bit. Okay, we don't have it here. I believe the original scrolls are in the Israel Museum, if I'm not mistaken. But here's a photograph of that one of the silver scrolls. I think there were two. Okay. So two small silver objects were discovered in the bone repository, rolled up like tiny scrolls. So which bone depository? They were discovered in here. This is cave number 24, right here. And right in there is where they were discovered. So in this cave right here, on the Hinnom Ridge, on the ridge above the Gebene Hinnom, the Valley of the Sons of Hinnom, is where was discovered. I'm now standing literally at the place where the oldest inscription ever discovered of a verse of text from the Torah, from the Tanakh, was discovered. Okay, and again, it was these silver scrolls. So two small silver objects were discovered in the bone repository, rolled up like tiny scrolls to be worn as amulets. After the scrolls were unrolled, it emerged that they were made of pure silver, measured 29 by 97 millimeters and 11 by 39 millimeters, the two separate silver scrolls, and had been incised with inscriptions in early Hebrew, meaning Paleo Hebrew. So this is not the Hebrew script that we use today. This is the ancient Hebrew script, also known as the Paleo Hebrew script. You can see it, for instance, or a variety of it, a variant of it in the Samaritan. The Samaritans use it's called Samaritan script, but it's closer to the Paleo Hebrew script than certainly the script that we use today, the square or the Ashurit or the Assyrian script. So had been incised with inscriptions in early Hebrew made by a sharp, delicate instrument. Both plaques bore versions of the biblical priestly blessing, Numbers 6:24 through 26, attesting to the fact that this blessing was familiar in the First Temple period in the 7th century BCE, meaning in the 600s BCE. The priestly blessing deciphered on the silver plaques from Katef Hinnom is the oldest biblical text dating from the First Temple period, again, the 7th and early 6th centuries BCE. And here we see it, okay? We see the transcription into the modern Hebrew script or the current Hebrew script. And we'll read part of it, okay? Okay, Yivarech Yehovah v'yishmerecha v'yivarecha Yahweh v'yishmerecha Ya'er Yahweh. Wherever you see parentheses, that means that it's actually missing from the scrolls, and it was just filled in by the scholars. Pretty good guess, obviously. Yud Hey, and then of course it would be Vav Hey in the context of this verse. Panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And that is, again, basically word for word the priestly blessing that we see in Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. So that is what this place is, Katef Hinnom. It is completely free to visit. If you're in Yerushalayim, I highly recommend visiting it. You could just either Google the Scottish Church or the Menachem Begin Heritage Center, and it's right above the Menachem Begin Heritage Center and right below the Scottish Church. So now what we're going to do is we'll walk out of this site, again, looking at some of these burial caves. And we're going to go to a place that I haven't been yet because it was recently built. I don't know exactly when. In recent years, I guess, which is a bridge that crosses over the valley of the Sons of Hinnom, Gebene Hinnom. It's going to be about maybe a 15-minute walk there, but it's worth it. And you'll see some of Yerushalayim, some of Jerusalem on the way. And if I have something to say, I'll say something. I don't know. I'll just keep my mouth shut. A good idea for everyone at certain times. Okay, so we're going out of this Katef Hinnom site right now. And over there is Emek Rephaim Street. Emek Rephaim is also mentioned in the Tanakh. The Valley of the Rephaim, the Valley of the Spirits, or the Valley of the Ghosts, that maybe you could translate it as. And we're going to walk down here. What you're looking at there in the distance is the hill that leads up to the old city. You could see some churches there. And that would be above the valley of the sons of Hinnom, or perhaps above the valley that is on the west of the city. I'd have to look down into the valley to see exactly where the valley of the sons of Hinnom ends, and what's called the Tyropian Valley, which runs to the west of the city of David, begins. But that's the general area. And let's see if we can get to this bridge and cross it, and then maybe we'll talk a bit more. We'll look at some of the other verses and talk a bit more about Gehennom, about the valley of the sons of Hinnom. I'm going to try to hold this steady. Some people have told me in the past that it shakes too much, but we'll try our best. So let's see what's going to be the best way to go. I believe over here. Cross over this bridge. No, this is not the bridge we're going to. And here we should be able to get a good view of the Gebene Hinnom, the valley of the sons of Hinnom. And we can talk a little bit about the geography of Yerushalayim. So there's that bridge over there, that thing that looks like it's one of those shaky bridges, but I'm sure it's quite steady. I haven't been on it yet. And that down there is where that bridge runs over. I hope you can see it well, is Gebene Hinnom. What we have over here, you can see the walls of the old city. These are not the ancient walls of the old city. The ancient walls of the old city no longer exist. These walls were built by the Turks in the 1500s by Suleiman the Great when he conquered Jerusalem in 1527, if I remember the date, more or less exactly. And then the valley there on that side, that kind of goes down and back up, is called the Tyropian Valley. That's the valley that borders on the west of the city of David, which runs basically where you see all those buildings over there. That is more or less where the city of David was. That is ancient Jerusalem. That is where David conquered the Jebusite city known as Yebus, or earlier as Shalem, and turned it into the capital of the United Kingdom of Israel. Okay, so let's see if we can make our way over to that valley. So in order to do so, I think, let's see here. You know what? I can go. All right, let me see. If I go down there, I think I have to go down here. So let's do it. This is Cinematech. This has been around forever. They show like artsy type movies here. Okay, I think if we go this way, it should be okay. The Chava Bagay. So there's a farm down here. Hopefully this is going to lead to that bridge. If not, we'll correct course as we go along. You could see it's now almost November here in Yerushalayim, and some of the leaves are starting to change color. We definitely don't have leaves that change color like they do back in the northeast of the United States, but you get a little color change here and there. And up in the Golan, where I live, for sure you get some good color on the trees. Okay, I'll point out other things as they become relevant. So up there, that hill right there is what's called Mount Zion. Mount Zion is a later name that's given to this mountain in the Tanakh. Zion, Zion just means it's another word for Jerusalem, for the city of David. And if it ever mentions Mount Zion, then that's actually talking about the Temple Mounts. It's talking about the mount at the top of Jerusalem or at the top of the city of David. Okay, here it says Gesher Atarui Ben Hinnom. So to the hanging bridge of the valleys of the sons of Hinnom. So we're going to go this way. These are fig trees. If I can find a nice ripe fig on it, which I doubt I will, then I'll eat it, but I think they're all gone by now. There's some unripe figs. There's the bridge in the distance. So this is the valley of the sons of Hinnom. Now it's basically a kind of a picnic place. But this is the valley where Jeremiah accuses the people of Judea of sacrificing their children to the god Molech. He doesn't use the name Molech explicitly. He says passing there or burning their children in fire, as we saw when we read in the previous video those verses from Jeremiah, and we'll read some more verses from Jeremiah when we get to the bridge. These are what they call kikayon trees, at least in modern Hebrew. The kikayon is the plant that it speaks about in the book of Jonah. Then when Jonah was sitting outside of the city of Nineveh, and he was getting parched by the sun, then it says that Yahweh caused a kikayon tree to grow, and he had shade, and then a worm came and ate the kikayon tree, or ate the roots of the kikayon tree, and the kikayon tree died overnight, and Jonah was very upset. And then Yahweh uses this as a metaphor to say that he says to Jonah, you're so upset about the kikayon tree that grew up over one night and was destroyed the next day, and now you understand why I'm so upset, or why I'm so distraught over Nineveh, the great city of Nineveh, which takes 3 days to cross and which has 120,000 people, why I'm reluctant to destroy it without first sending you, Jonah, to give them proper warning. So you were upset about a tree which grew up and died in a single day. And so now you understand why I'm upset about a great city that grew up over many, many years, centuries, and in which there are 120,000 people and much livestock, it also mentions. The city of Nineveh actually has been found and been excavated in all places. It is of all places, it's in Mosul, in Iraq. You can see some excellent videos online about the excavations of that city. So I guess we got to go up here. Let's see if we can cross the street here. It looks like the entrance is up here. So there's the bridge. Let's see. Can I go through here? No, that's blocked off. So it looks like I've got to go up here. Even though, as usual, there's not enough signage in Israel, though Israel's getting much better with that kind of stuff. Going up a pretty steep hill here. Huh, I'm not really sure how I get to it. Let me look from here. Huh. Let's see. It's probably down there on that path. Down there. I'm not really sure. Hold on. Let me try going up here. This is probably not it, I'm guessing. Let's try to backtrack. Would be nice if they had some more signage, but whatever. So we're looking up there to Mount Zion. What's called Mount Zion. Let me go down here. Okay, this is the farm that's in the valley. Maybe there's someone here I can ask. It's a nice little farm. I have no idea if there are animals here. Wow, this is nice. This is sage. Oh, this is nice. There's actually vegetables growing. Wow, this is gorgeous. סליחה? איך אני מגיע לגשר? אבל איפה למעלה? פה? מפה. אוקיי. אוקיי. כן. אוקיי. יש שם שילוט? יש שלטים שם? כן. אוקיי. מפה? לפני שירדת? כן. עכשיו? כן. היית יכול להמשיך למעלה? במקום לרדת רגע. הבנתי. אוקיי, בסדר. אתה אומר להמשיך לכיוון הזה, אבל, נכון? כן. אוקיי. תודה. Wow, this is nice. I've never been here. We even knew this place existed. Oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. Okay, I'll have to come check this out sometime. There's a little waterfall here. Some seats to sit down. Wow. Little hangout place. Okay, let's try here. My God. I didn't even know this place existed. Ah. This is an ancient oil press. I believe that's an oil press. So that would be what is called a gat, an oil press. Wow, this is really nice. Here, chickens, there's a whole thing going on here. Who even knew? So there's a lot going on in the valley of the sons of Hinnom. And let's see how we can get to the bridge. I have a feeling it's going to be these stairs. Let me ask these people here. There are a lot of people on the bridge, as we can see. This is really nice. סליחה, איך אני מגיע לגשר, לכניסה לגשר?
אתה יכול לעלות מפה למעלה, אתה רואה את המדרגות כאן?
כן.
אתה עולה במדרגות, ממשיך עם השביל.
כן.
אתה תראה שם פנייה.
אוקיי.
עלייה כזאת לצד.
כן.
עם טרסה.
אוקיי.
אתה עולה בטרסה, אתה תראה שם את הגשר.
תודה רבה.
מפה, יחד. אתה יכול גם מפה,
האמת. מפה, אוקיי, בסדר. Okay. Oh, we're having a lot of fun on that bridge. Oh my God. Okay, let's go up these stairs and look for the entrance to the bridge. Okay, looks like we're getting closer. Huh. This looks like it goes under the bridge. So I have a feeling I need to go this way. So let's just stop here and take a quick view, take a quick look around. So we have here again, this is what they call today Mount Zion. It's not called that in the Tanakh. Zion just means Jerusalem, meaning the ancient city of Jerusalem, the city of David. In the distance there, we see the Mount of Olives. And up on top, the hotel, if you see those arches, it's probably hard to make out. But that's the hotel I stayed in the last time I was in Yerushalayim. This time I'm staying by a friend. And this is basically looking up the eastern slopes of the above the Kidron Valley to the east of Jerusalem. We can kind of make out the city of David from here, but it's a bit hard to see. It's blocked off by this ridge right over here. But maybe we'll see it from the bridge. That in the distance, now we're looking at what's called Western Jerusalem or New Jerusalem, outside the old city walls. That building right now in the center, not the tall one to the left, but the one more to the right, is the King David Hotel. And in front of it, where you see those red roofs, those red triangular roofs, that is the neighborhood of Mamilla. Is that what it's called? No, wait a second. Mamilla. I think it's called Mamilla. I can't remember. Okay, let's go on. Not Mamilla. It's called something else, but I can't remember what it is right now. Okay, let's see if we can get to the bridge. Maybe there. That looks promising. It definitely would help if they had more signage, but that's okay. It's all good. We're enjoying our nice walk around Jerusalem, right outside the old city. Huh. A little bit stumped. I think this is where we were before. Oh, shoot. Slicha, slicha. איך אני מגיע לגשר? Let me ask this person. השביל הזה. כן.
משהו כמו 10-15 מטר משם.
כן.
תראה עלייה.
כן. בצד
ואתה
ימין.
ממש רואה פה את הגשר. אתה רואה איפה החבר'ה עומדים שם?
כן, כן.
אתה תראה שם בפנים עלייה עם מדרגות, תעלה שם.
תודה רבה. So, okay, let's go this way. We basically did a giant circle. We were here before. Okay, no biggie. We're getting there. Okay, so we said to continue this way. Ah, here it is. There's a sign here. We're getting closer. Okay, I think I see it. Wow, so much going on here. I really didn't know. I really built up this area a lot. Okay, here we are. Gesher. There's the entrance. Okay. Okay, this is not it because that's closed. So wait a second. Let's try up here. It definitely would help if the signs were better. This looks promising. Okay, I see the stairs. Okay, we found it. This is a pomegranate tree. Pomegranates are already past their season. So they're rotting on the tree at this point. Okay, and here we go. This is the entrance to the bridge. So it's 202 meters long, 130 centimeters wide. Okay, that's about all there is to say about this. Let's enter. Okay. Let's see here. Some cousins over there. Okay, so now we're passing across the bridge. And when we get to the center, we'll look at some more verses from the Tanakh regarding this valley. Our lovely cousins are using the bridge. Okay. So here's the valley. That's the farm we were at. Up, let's see if we can see where Katef Hinnom is. In the distance, you can see it. That's where those burial caves were. And here we are more or less at the center of the bridge. So this way we're looking, essentially this would be more or less the south side of the old city of Jerusalem, the city of David. So here, this is going to be the west side, more or less. Again, that building in the distance that you see there is the King David Hotel. And this down here is the Valley of the Children of Hinnom, Gei B'nai Hinnom. On this side, looking towards the west or the southwest, and this side kind of looking towards the southeast. Okay, so let's talk about a couple more verses regarding the Valley of the Children of Hinnom. Just give me a second here. Enjoy the view in the meantime. Just give me 1 second. אני עסוק עכשיו. חבר'ה, אני עסוק. זוז. Okay, so we are going to look now at Jeremiah chapter 19. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 19. Give me a second here to bring it up. So we read about, maybe because I did it in the previous video, maybe I'll read once again in Jeremiah 7. We'll just go through those verses again. Let me just bring that up first. So Jeremiah 7. Okay, so I'm reading now in Jeremiah chapter 7, starting at verse 30. Let me just switch hands here. Excuse me. And it says, this is Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 30, and it's going to be speaking about this valley, about the valley of the children of Hinnom, the Bnei Hinnom. Ki asu bnei Yehuda harav einain Yahweh, because the children, the sons of Judah, did evil in my eyes, declares Yahweh. Samu shikutzem b'bayit asher nikra shemi alav lit'am'o. They placed their disgusting creatures, meaning unkosher animals, in the house upon which my name is called. Of course, speaking about the Holy Temple, speaking about Solomon's Temple at that point. This is in the time of Jeremiah. This was at the end of the First Temple period. The end of the book of Jeremiah speaks about the destruction of the First Temple by Nebuchadnezzar and his Rava Tabachim, his chief of the army, I guess you can translate it as Nebuzaradan, who is the actual one who came. Oh my God, there's a lot of activity here. Zirut. Okay, let's go on. Hopefully they won't collapse the bridge. My God, we got a lot of activity. All right, so verse 31. Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 31. Ubanu banot bamot hatofet asher begei ben Hinnom. So what did the children of the sons of Judah do? They built the high places of the Tophet. Tophet, nobody knows exactly what that word means. Often it's translated as pyre, but nobody knows exactly what it means. I'll tell you a story about that word in a second. Asher begei ben Hinnom, which is in the valley of the sons of Hinnom, or here in the son of Hinnom, same thing. Begei ben Hinnom, that's what we're looking at right now. L'srof et bneihem ve'et benotehem ba'esh, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire. Asher rotzi withi, ulo ata al libi, which I did not command, and which did not enter my heart. Verse 32. So this is Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 32. Lachen hine yamim ba'im ne'um Yahweh. Therefore, days are coming, declares Yahweh, v'lo ya'mer od hatofet v'ge ben Hinnom, that it will no longer be called, but called is the implication there, the Tophet and the valley of the sons of Hinnom, ki im ge ha'harega, but rather the valley of killing. Why will it be called the valley of killing? Jeremiah's going to explain right now. V'kavru b'tofet me'en makom, and they will bury dead bodies at the Tophet until there is no room left. Verse 33, wa'ita nivlat amazeh, and so it shall be that the carcasses of this people, talking about the people of Judea, talking about the Jews, the carcasses of the people of the sons of Judea, the sons of Judah, they shall become food for the birds of the sky and the animals on the birds in the sky and the animals on the earth, on the ground. The en machrid, and there will be no one to scare them away, no one to scare away the birds and to scare away the animals. Verse 34. Vishbati me'are Yehuda michutzot Yerushalayim, and I will cause to cease. Again, as we said before, from the word Shabbat, Vishbati, I will cause to cease from the cities of Judea, umechutzot Yerushalayim, and from the streets of Jerusalem, kol sason v'kol simcha, the voice of rejoicing and the voice of happiness, kol chatan v'kol kala, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, ki leharba ti'eh haaretz, because the land shall be given over to destruction by the sword is the implication. Okay, so that's Jeremiah chapter 7, verses 30 through 34. And then we can also look at, let me bring it up here. 1 second, please. We're going to bring up Jeremiah 19. So let me do that. Jeremiah 19. 1 second, please. Jeremiah 19, right at the beginning. One second. Okay, so this is Jeremiah 19. Komar Yahweh. Haloch v'kanita. So this is Yahweh telling Jeremiah to do an act that all of the children of Judea will see. And this is what he says. Komar Yahweh. So says Yahweh, Haloch kanita bakbuk. It's a haris. Go and buy an earthenware bottle. Umizikne am, umizikne kohanim. And gather together, I guess is the implication there, from the elders of the people and the elders of the Kohanim. Verse 2, Yatzat el Ge ben Hinnom. You should go out to the valley of the sons of Hinnom. Once again, that's what we're looking at right now. Valley of the sons of Hinnom. Asher petach sha'ar haharisot. Which is at the entrance of the gate of the pottery sherds. V'karata sham. And there you shall call out, you shall proclaim the things that I shall tell you. Verse 3, this is Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 3. So the point is here, we already had mention of the valley of the sons of Hinnom. Okay, you're going to go out to the valley of the sons of Hinnom, which is at the entrance of the gate of pottery sherds. So the gate of pottery sherds would have been an entrance to the old city, to the city of David, which would have been in that direction over there. So it probably would have been where in the valley of Hinnom, it probably would have been somewhere down there where we're looking at, because that's closer to the city of David. The city of David is on that ridge, a bit hard to see, not the ridge in the background, that's going up east of the Kidron Valley, but this closer ridge here where you can see a couple of houses, that's the southern extent of the city of David, and the valley of the sons of Hinnom extends to out there. So it would have been talking about somewhere there that we're looking at right now. Okay, V'marta, and you shall say, Shim'u davar Yahweh malchei Yehuda, Yoshvei Yerushalayim. Hear now the words of Yahweh, kings of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Ko amar Yahweh tzvaot Elohei Yisrael. So says Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel. Hineni mevi ra'ah ala makom hazeh. Behold, I'm going to bring evil. I'm going to bring bad things, horrible things on this place. Asher kol shum'ah titzalna uznav. And anyone, horrible things upon this place, which when anyone hears about them, their ears shall ring. Ya'an asher azavuni v'yinkaru et hamakom hazeh. Because they have left me and they have made foreign, nochri means a foreigner. They've made foreign this place, like teru bo le'eruim acharim, and they've burnt incense to other gods, to foreign gods, asher lo yad'um, which they did not know. Hema, they did not know. Va'avotehem, which they and their forefathers did not know. Umalchei Yehuda umalu, and the kings of Yehuda did not know. So I'm sorry, let's read that again. They burned incense to foreign gods, strange gods, which they and their forefathers and the kings of Judah did not know. Umalu et hamakom hazeh dam nikiim, and they filled this place with the blood of the innocent, or innocent blood. Again, that's very possibly a reference to the child sacrifice that was going on in the Ge B'nai Hinnom, in the valley of the sons of Hinnom. Verse 5, and they built the high places to the Baal, or the high places of Baal, the Serofet B'nehem, to burn their children, Ba'esh, in fire. So here it mentions Bamot HaBaal, the high places of the Baal. So it doesn't mention Molech, but it's possible that Molech the Baal were kind of a series or dynasty, you should say, of gods, lowercase g. It's possible that Molech was one that belonged to that class of gods, the Baal. I remember reading that somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, at any rate, Asher lo tziwiti velo dibarti, which I did not command and I did not speak about. Velo alta al libi, and did not come into my heart. That's an exact repetition of the verses that we saw in Jeremiah, what was it, 17, I believe, or whatever the previous chapter is that we read. At any rate, Lachain, this is Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 6. Lachain hine yamim ba'im ne'um Yahweh. Therefore, days are coming, declares Yahweh. V'lo yikarei lamakom hazeh od hatofet v'gei ben Hinnom. So this is again almost word for word an exact repetition of what we saw in Jeremiah, was it 16 or 17? I don't remember the previous chapter that we read. So days are coming that this place will no longer be called the Tophet, or the valley of the sons of Hinnom, ki im ge hahariga, but rather the valley of killing. Verse 7, Wakoti et atzat Yehuda v'Yerushalayim b'makom hazeh, and when I reject the counsel of Judah and Jerusalem b'makom hazeh, in this place, ve hipaltim b'cherev, and I cause them to fall by the sword lifnei oivehem, before their enemies, and into the hands of those who are looking to kill them, literally those who seek out their souls, or seek out their bodies. Then I will give over their carcasses as food for the birds of the heavens and for the animals that roam on the earth. Again, that's almost a repetition of the verses that we saw in the other chapter of Jeremiah. Verse 8, and I will make this, or I will turn this city into a wasteland, to a desolate wasteland. And as a place that anyone who passes by it will whistle. In other words, will say, wow. Aleha ayisom uishrok kol makoteha, that will pass it and will whistle when they see all of its destruction, all of that has been destroyed. Verse 9, this is Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 9. V'chalitim et basar b'nehem wa et basar b'notehem ish basar re'ehu, and I will feed the flesh of their sons and the flesh of the daughters. Ma'ish basar re'ehu, and I will feed each man the flesh of his fellow man. Yochelu, and they will eat it b'matzor b'matzok, in when there is a siege, and when there is an induced famine from the siege. Asher yatziku lehem, which their enemies will, or which they will cause to happen in pain. Yatziku lehem oivehem, which the enemies will cause to fall upon them in pain. Umivakshen nafsham, and those who, and the enemies and those who seek their to kill them. Verse 10, V'shavarta habakbuk le'enei ha'anashim, and this is, remember, at the beginning of this chapter, Yahweh says to Jeremiah, buy a bottle of an earthenware bottle. And now he's telling Jeremiah, go. So what does he say? Buy this earthenware bottle, go down to the valley of the sons of Hinnom, right over there, right where it meets the gate of the pottery sherds, and take that bottle with you, and then make that whole speech to the children to Bnei Yehuda, to the children of Yehuda. Okay, and now he tells Jeremiah in verse 10. This is again Jeremiah chapter 19, verse 10. And you shall break that bottle before the eyes of the people who are going with you, or going before you. You shall say to them, Ko amar Yahweh tzvaot, so says Yahweh of hosts, Kacha ashbor et ha'amazeh, so I will break into pieces. So I will break this nation, this people. Ve'et ha'ir azot, and the city, kasher yishbor et kli hayotzer, just as the vessel that is made by the potter is broken, asher lo yuchal leherapeh, which cannot be healed, cannot be put back together. Od, again, ubetofet yikbaru me'en makom, and in the Tophet, again, the Tophet was the place in the valley of the sons of Hinnom. They will bury dead bodies until there is no more room to bury. Me'en makom likbor. Ken esel makom hazeh, so I shall do to this place, Yahweh, says Yahweh, u'liyoshvav, and to its inhabitants, letet et ha'ir azot ki kitofet, and I will turn this city into a tofet. In other words, there will be total destruction of this city. V'hayu batei Yerushalayim batei malchei Yehuda, and so shall be the daughters of Jerusalem and the daughters of the kings of Yehuda, kamakom, a tofet. And by the way, daughters of Yerushalayim means the surrounding cities. It doesn't literally mean the daughters. It means the suburbs or the surrounding towns of Jerusalem. Kamakom a tofet, like the place of the tofet, a tmeim lachol habatim, that is impure in all its houses, or to all its houses. Sher kitru al gi gotehem b'chot tzavah hashamayim. So, in other words, the houses will be destroyed; they will become impure. Lachol habatim asher kitru al gagotehem, all of these houses upon the roofs of which they burnt incense, l'chot tzavah hashamayim, to all the hosts of heaven. In other words, to the moon, the sun, the stars, the astrological signs, perhaps. And they poured out libations, wine libations, to foreign gods. And we could stop there. I think that's enough. I think it gets the point across. And so once again, let's summarize here. This place that we're looking at is the Gei B'nai Hinnom. It is the Valley of the Sons of Hinnom. It's mentioned in a number of places in Tanakh, 2 places in Jeremiah. And by the way, Jeremiah goes on in the end to describe in great detail in the last chapter, 2 chapters essentially of the book of Jeremiah, the actual destruction of Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar and by his head of the army, Nebuzaradan. And then the book of Jeremiah finishes with the appointment of Mushroom fan. It finishes with the appointment of Gedaliah as governor over the exiles of Jerusalem, what's left of the exiles of Jerusalem, and then his murder by a dude named Ishmael ben Netanyah, etc. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So we're going to end the video here. We're looking at the Valley of the Sons of Hinnom. We're looking at the place where child sacrifice was called out by Jeremiah in the times towards the end of the kingdom of Yehuda, not long before the Babylonians destroyed the kingdom of Yehuda, destroyed the first holy temple of Solomon. And that place where Jeremiah said those words was probably right there where we're looking, where that ridge right here, that ridge meets the valley. This is the Valley of the Sons of Hinnom. This is the ridge of the city of David, okay, Zion. And that's what Yahweh says to Jeremiah, go right there in the valley of the Sons of Hinnom, right at the gate of the Harisot, the gate of the potsherds. And that would mean it would have to be, the gate would be around the old city of Jerusalem, not the old city, that's the wrong word, the city of David, the ancient city of Jerusalem, and because the gate would be around the city, and the only place where the city meets the Valley of the B'nai Hinnom would be right around there where you see at the edge of my finger, and that right there where my finger ends is probably more or less, maybe exactly, I don't know about exactly, but more or less where Jeremiah said his words to B'nai Yehuda, to the children of Yehuda, trying to warn them, or basically giving them at that point prophecy that their kingdom is slated soon for destruction. So with that, we will end. I hope you enjoyed this tour, which started back at Katef Hinnom with an exploration of the burial caves there, and talking about the silver scrolls that were found. Again, the silver scrolls are an extremely important biblical archaeological find. They represent the oldest verses, I shouldn't say it that way, they represent the oldest find ever in the history of biblical archaeology, with verses from the Torah, the priestly blessing, and those silver scrolls are dated to the 7th century approximately BCE. Then we wandered down into the Valley of the Sons of Hinnom. Down there, we got lost for a while, but we had a nice time. We eventually made our way onto this bridge and overlooking the Valley of the Sons of Hinnom. Remember, we said that that's where we get the later rabbinical word of Gehenom, which actually entered into other languages such as Arabic. They call it Genom. Also means hell in Arabic. I think I'm saying that correctly. I have to remember from my time in Morocco. But Genom in later Hebrew means hell, or at least the entrance to hell. And that comes from those verses in Jeremiah, or the use of the children of Judah of this valley as a place where they would burn their children in the fire. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to now head on up into the old city of Jerusalem, up in that direction. Again, that's what in modern times is called Har Zion, or Mount Zion. And I'm going to continue my day in the old city of Jerusalem. This has been Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of the World Alliance of Karaim and Kara 8 Insights. Hope you've enjoyed this video as we continue along the bridge. Maybe I'll just keep it going for another minute or two. And we'll see you again soon. Toda rabah and Shavua Tov.